believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And I truly believe that by doing the things he taught, we can make the world a better place. Jesus commanded us to go into all the world and preach the gospel, but he also knew we couldn't force anyone to become a disciple. He said that if we want to know whether he is truly from God, we just need to try out his teachings for ourselves. So I don't want people to just take my word for it. I want them to personally try doing what Jesus says and see what happens. I've heard people say if I gave up everything, I'd have nothing to give to the poor, or I'd starve if I didn't work for money. But in reality, these are just excuses. Jesus said that if we seek God's kingdom first, he will provide all our needs. So I want to share the stories of 3 people who tested Jesus' teachings about giving up everything for him, in the hope that it inspires someone else to do the same. George Müller began a legacy of orphanages built on faith and prayer, despite starting his life as a troublemaker. When he and his wife moved to Bristol to work with the church, they chose not to take a salary from the congregation. Instead, they wanted to depend daily on God for their needs. They took this same attitude when they began an orphanage. Through prayer and faith, they clothed, housed, and educated thousands of orphans. One morning, the children were ready for school, but there was no food in the house. Still, Müller told them to sit at the empty tables and gave thanks to God for the food they were about to receive. It must have seemed crazy, but shortly after, there was a knock on the door. A baker had woken in the night feeling that God told him to bring bread. Moments later, a milkman's cart broke down outside the orphanage, and he gave all the milk before it spoiled. George Müller and his wife showed how much of a difference you can make, even with no visible means of support. Because they prioritized building God's kingdom, he provided. Next is Lilias Trotter, a 19th century artist born into an upper-class British family. Early in her life, renowned critic John Ruskin was mesmerized by her work and believed she could become one of the greatest artists of her time. But Lilias realized she would have to give herself entirely to either art or God. She couldn't serve both. She forsook worldly success to seek first the kingdom of God. In 1893, she and 2 friends sailed to Algeria, a Muslim country where planting a church was illegal. They had no financial support and didn't know Arabic, but they had a deep desire to do God's will. She stayed for 40 years, quietly serving and sharing the gospel. Her art wasn't displayed in London's galleries as Ruskin had hoped. It appeared instead in small booklets teaching Algerian women about Jesus. Around the same time, on another continent, Sundar Singh of Punjab, India, began his missionary journey. Born into a Sikh family, Sundar deeply disliked Christianity in his youth. But his heart was restless, so much so that age 15, he planned to end his life. In his darkest hour, Jesus appeared to him in a vision. Sundar converted to Christianity. Rejected by his family, he left home and began traveling barefoot across India, wearing simple robes and carrying only a New Testament. He saw the hypocrisy in many Western churches and chose instead to follow Jesus' example, a simple life with nowhere to lay his head. Despite living in poverty, he traveled extensively through India and beyond, preaching the gospel. These are just 3 examples of people who chose God over money. They left everything to do his will, and God provided for them. They didn't just show that it's possible to survive by seeking God's kingdom first. They are living examples of Mark 10. They left home, families, houses, and friends, but received so much more in return. To do the same, all you need is a radical openness to listen to God and a willingness to do whatever he asks. Are you ready?